Hereby given that a regular meeting of Commissioners Court, Grimes County, Texas, is being held this day at 9 a.m. We're at the 114 West Buffington Avenue in Anderson, Texas. I'm going to ask if you would stand for the invocation. Remain standing to the pledges to the U.S. and to the Texas flag. I'll give our county attorney just a moment to.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, please.
Brother Tompkins.
Let us pray. Father God, we come this morning first thanking you for a new year. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for what all that's going to be accomplished this day. We thank you, Father, that Commissioner Walker is among us, and Father, just a week or so ago, she celebrated the homegoing of her mother. We thank you that she is here and all is well. And then we lift this court to you, Father, because we know that you have the answer, that you are the source of all of our problems. And we pray that this court, Father, and we thank you that this court has been a safe court because, Father, we know what's happening in the Middle East. But, Father, we thank you that in this court we're still able to pray and we're still able to have peace. And we're not taking this lightly. We know it's because of you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Would you be seated, please? We'll now go to agenda item number 2. I do have a request from Commissioner Walker. She'd like to make a public statement.
Yes, I wanted to take this time to say thank you to each and every one of you, to all of our citizens, to all of you that whatever act of kindness that you might have shown my family, we deeply appreciate it and we gratefully acknowledge that you did that for us, and it will never be forgotten. And this is from the family of Ruthie Mae Henley.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Miss Mary, I didn't have any other sheets, so that'll conclude our public comments. And Commissioner, it's good to have you back on the bench.
Good to be back.
I know. All right, consent agenda items number 3, 4, and 5. Consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. Agenda item 4, consider and take action to approve payroll. Agenda item 5, consider and take action to approve budget amendments and/or line item transfers, and those are listed for us to review. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions on any of those 3 agenda items?
Judge, if there's no questions, I move that we approve consent agenda items 3, 4, and 5.
Second. There's a motion before the court on consent agenda items number 3, 4, and 5 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Mallett. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to agenda item number 6, Grimes County Building Maintenance. Al Peeler, consider and take action to approve items for auction. Mr. Peeler, good morning.
Good morning. Grimes County Maintenance Manager, Al Peeler. Just bring before you to approve the items, the salvage items for throughout the greater courthouse complex. That's just, they've either been broken, there's not anything of great value in there. We make
They being physical things?
physical assets.
What date are you looking at putting them online if it's approved today? How soon?
I'd like to start, well, Jen, this weekend is a project day, so I'll pull everything out and see if there is something of greater value that we need to put on a separate auction to see if I can gain more money for us. I would like to start probably the middle of next week.
We have some items in Navasota also,
Okay.
if you don't mind, including the broken water fountains.
Look,
That's
Glenn
all.
Love is going there today to pick some things up, so I don't know if that's on the list.
Okay.
Will there be a list generated of those items when they're online?
Okay, so how that works, Commissioner, is if it has an asset tag, they call the auditors with that number and they, I believe, generate a list or take it off inventory. I don't know that side of the house. When it comes to me, I usually, if I try to sell all, and this is gonna sound bad, I try to sell all of our salvage stuff that's really of no use, very well conditioned stuff in a room as a bulk room. I pull out the stuff that I
So you
think
sell it as a lot?
I sell it as a lot, yes, sir. So, not all things, no. I mean, if I pull something out that I think we might
Right.
get $68 instead of 32, I'm gonna go for it.
If there are no more questions, then I'd like to make the motion to approve. It says items for auctions, but you would generate us a list. also.
I can.
All right, thank
Second.
you.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 6 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, sir. We'll go to agenda item number 7, Grimes County Sheriff's Office. Chief Green, consider and take action to approve proposed salary changes. See attachment number 7. Morning, Chief.
Good morning. The sheriff would like to present before the court some restructuring of his command rank to help improve the efficiencies of the sheriff's office. We've been looking at some of our rank structure and stuff, and in our workloads in certain areas, and we feel that we need to increase our patrol division a little more than what we have now. What we're actually offering is we're gonna remove the admin lieutenant's position and make that into a patrol deputy position. With that, there's a difference of roughly about $12,000 in salary, and those duties that the admin lieutenant are gonna be divided up between myself, Captain Rutledge, Lieutenant Caswell, and our evidence and sex offender registration, Crystal and Jay, and our admin assistant, Lisa Bates. We're gonna assume all those duties that the lieutenant was doing, so we can put an extra patrolman person on the road. With that, we looked at, since we're increasing the job duties of everybody, the sheriff would like to submit wages for the people that are involved in there. And also, now we're running 3 school resource officers. We're getting a little more specialized in that area, and we'd like to appoint Deputy Smith as the sergeant, the SRO, to help coordinate all the school issues and the school tips and stuff going on. So that will go to a current sergeant pay. So with everything being done, it comes up roughly $9,243, which still leaves $2,800 the difference in there. So there's no raise affecting, no added money needing into the budget. It's still the same money we're budgeted for. It's just it's being dispersed differently, and job duties are going elsewhere.
So to understand you correctly, the lieutenant that now, you had a lieutenant doing the duties,
Yes.
all of these duties.
And over the last few months, our jail lieutenant, Lieutenant Caswell, has been kind of handling split duties. And it's really a little too much for that, and it's taken away. So we really need, to have more focus of him back in the jail. He'll be taking some of these duties that relate towards the jail and helping out, obviously on the jail budget and stuff. And then the captain, myself, and the 2 administrative assistants will be picking up the rest of the duties.
So this is in an effort to make y'all more effective and efficient.
Yeah, and
And how
this
you-
gives us an extra patrolman that we can put on the street to help, run the demands of the costs that we're receiving right now.
Okay.
And do we have the?
So
I'm
we're
sorry.
kind of just flattening the organization a little bit. And
Excuse me, Commissioner. Do we have the personnel that would then be available to go to the street?
Yeah, we're looking at a couple things. We have one that's out on FMLA for maternity leave, and then we have two that are starting the academy in February.
So, it sounds like there's some significant duties that are gonna be divided up amongst the administration. Is that correct?
Yes.
What, can you give us an example of what some of those duties might be?
Yes. Okay. Monitoring the budget, writing budget proposals, expenditures, creating purchasing orders, coding, documenting all receipts for purchasing for all division, maintaining records, filing process for all incoming and outgoing mail, respond to inquiries from the general public, typing, filing, and assisting general public, media, and governmental entities, and prepare correspondence to include letters, memos, confidential documents, coordinate training and travel for each division, registration and reimbursements, and the grant funding reimbursements that we get, contact vendors for pricing and bids, receive merchandise. Want me to continue on, or would you like me to
Would you
forward this
repeat
to you?
that?
Contact vendors for price bids and quotes and
Is that all? I'm sorry.
receiving merchandise.
Commissioner, is that the information you're looking for? Are you looking for
Yeah, and
who
that-
was doing what and who's gonna now
Well-
be doing what?
That's my concern. Those are significant duties to be divided up amongst the staff that's there now for $6.40 a day. Are they gonna be able to do that, wanna do that?
Yes. It's all been discussed with everybody. Yeah, we all think this is the option we need to go to right now.
Now, in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, one person primarily did that job, the lieutenant that was,
Primary.
In that position.
And you had one person primary. Everybody had roles involved in those things. You just had one person primary coordinate. Now we're kind of spreading it out. You know.
so you're dividing up the duties that you just read amongst
Oh, yeah,
the.
there's more. I mean, I just,
Yes, I know there's more.
I just stopped halfway.
But you're dividing those duties up so they can be done and be coordinated in a better manner, so that it doesn't fall to one person, but,
Yeah, in some of the duties, you know, we may have one particular duty, but it may not be going just to one person. You know, some of it's going to be taken here, some of it's going to be taken here. You know, we work together every single day and coordinate, communicating every day. So we think this is going to serve the needs best.
okay. And this is for, it's pending approval for the lieutenant, the captain, the chief deputy, and the administrative assistants and evidence, sex offenders, and records. Those are the positions that, and SRO office. Those are the positions that we're discussing making changes to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've gotten with the auditor's office ahead of time. We sat down, verified all the numbers, make sure everything's still within the confines of our budget. And, you know,
Now, one other question. If you're doing away with that position as a lieutenant, or can we anticipate you coming back next year asking for a lieutenant?
you know,
I have some concerns about, and I've heard this, about being overworked and underpaid. And I have some concerns about the well-being of the leadership of the department. When you're talking about, I mean, you read a pretty exhaustive list and could continue about adding those additional duties to an already burdened staff for minimal amounts of money. And I understand it's an attempt to make the department more efficient, but at the end of the day, will it really? I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, it's obviously, seems logical to me to keep the lieutenant's position that's already there and then come back at a later date during the budget process, and we can certainly talk about additional compensation for your deputies and the administrative staff if at that time you feel like they're undercompensated. But
Well, and you're wrong, sir, we definitely appreciate everything we can get. We do plan on going back and trying to maybe more simplify, restructure our pay scale and to include those, some of the increases in the pay scale and to help clear up some deficiencies. But I also have kind of the pressing need on my patrol deputies right now. And I really need to, when we talk about underworked and underpaid, and don't take this the wrong way. Everybody over there is overworked and underpaid. But, especially when we start comparing around our surrounding agencies. But, I gotta look at who's getting the worst workload right now, and that's our patrol deputies, and we're trying to take a little easy burden off them, and also we're trying to, recognize that, we do have limited budgets and we can only achieve what we can. Yes, and I'll agree if you're willing to give me more people, hey, we'll take that and go to work.
I don't think that was a recommendation.
well, I think that's, I mean, they're doing,
If you want to
they're
approve,
adding.
I'll lead the lieutenant if you want to approve me as patrol deputy.
Here's, and I agree with you. But I don't know how this makes the problem any better. This does, in my mind, this compounds the problem even more. Because
It's taken a little burden off our patrol deputies, and the supervisors have agreed to help them and make sure they're being efficient to the citizens and stuff, that we're gonna take on a little more work for this time being. Is it something that, is it in all fixed for the next 5 years? No. But it is something that we can have fixed right now to get a patrol position out on the street a little earlier, and hopefully next year or two we'll come back and we can look at, the patrol positions and stuff.
Well, I think Commissioner Walker just asked the question, is there an anticipated request for an additional position? And you just alluded to,
Yes,
seems-
there's an additional request for admin lieutenant, and I said, no, we won't come back next year for admin lieutenant. No, we will not.
okay, but in
Not
the
for that
foreseeable future, would you probably do that?
What, come back for more people
A
or for that
lieutenant.
position? No, probably not a lieutenant's position, not an admin lieutenant's position.
So what I
I
hear
would
you're
feel
saying,
more reluctant, I would feel more reluctant handling maybe more civilian admin positions at a lower cost to help run some of these duties in the future.
It sounded like that grocery list that you read off of duties
And-
are more administrative type of duties,
and,
clerical.
Continue to help take some of the paperwork duties off the patrol officers that way.
But I see Commissioner Cox's point, if we've got a difficult situation, we've got a couple of the leadership on the back row. I know they're stoic and not saying anything, but do they have the time, as Commissioner Cox has suggested, to absorb these duties? And none of us are against putting additional patrol on the street. I think that's where the citizens see and the safety is really enhanced. But at the end of the day, with folks being overworked and underpaid already, I don't want to accelerate any burnout and people leaving the organization.
Okay, and you're free to ask them any questions on how they feel.
well, can I make a point? I thought I heard you say that Lieutenant Caswell, this position has been open for a while. So it sounds like the duties have been split among people already.
Right.
Lieutenant Caswell, you spoke to him really needing to focus more, I think, on the jail side of it. So it sounds like you've been watching this for some time and you've thought about it. You've all collaborated on how you can help make this work. And y'all's structure is a little different from the rest of the county structure, in that y'all have a separate structure that you look at and you critique from time to time. But it sounds like you kind of know where you're going because you had to do these duties for the last few months, if I make no mistake.
Yes, for the last several months, we've been,
That's why we're here. I have been the jail administrator for, this will be 5 years this year. And when David retired, I took that job as well. I couldn't manage both. I mean, for 6 to 7 months, I've managed both to where we have gotten by. And it became a point that more people needed to help me. But we realized if I'm one person that could manage both of those positions, there's no reason specifically to have the paid lieutenant spot better used on the street. That's where we came to that conclusion.
Okay.
But I know long-term that I need to focus on the jail more. So the chief, Ryan, and the administrative assistants, if they take part of that job, that'll free up a lot more of my time to manage the jail.
Right.
and then over time too is when Lieutenant Rain left and Lieutenant Cook took over, you know, we kind of slowly been pulling some of those duties back to different divisions. So it's not an overnight decision. It's something that we've been in the process actually kind of working towards the last couple of years.
It sounds like a common sense approach y'all trying to take, to whereas if an administrative person could do some of the clerical duties that it seems like y'all are tying people up in doing, to me it makes sense to assign those duties. And I know that you are very, and the sheriff, y'all have enough leadership skills. Y'all know how to pull yourselves together to work together to make this happen. And he said he's been trying to do these duties for the last 6 to 7 months. Y'all have divided them up so you kind of have an idea of where the duties you'd like to see them go. And I trust the leadership of this department to be able to do that. I mean,
And there's been a lot of new requirements, I believe, as well, that require additional paperwork, which kind
Right.
of bring to light that probably a more need for administrative type clerical people to be added.
I mean, we hear about how now patrols are sitting, spending a lot of time behind the desk doing paperwork.
Yeah, more
when
time
they
doing
could be
paperwork than out on the
out,
streets,
yes.
yeah. So,
Certainly not a, I mean, I'm trying to take the well-being of the sheriff's department and its employees into account whenever I'm making these comments. I'm not opposed to the
No, I appreciate it.
administration
I
of,
appreciate that.
and the direction that you want to take the department, but, I mean, the judge, I think, mentioned it, burnout's an issue. There's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of things going on in the county, and, I don't want to eliminate a position.
Well, we're not fully eliminating the position. We're just reallocating that position to.
But you won't have the administrative lieutenant anymore to do those duties that you and your other administrative staff are fixing to take on for $6.40 a day. So,
If
Yeah,
there's, if
go ahead.
there's no further discussion, I move that we approve the proposed salary changes. And I applaud you guys for trying to get another deputy on the street, because we definitely need that.
Nice second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 7 by Commissioner Dobianski. There's a second by Commissioner Walker. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good luck, leadership. Agenda item number 8, Grimes County Election Administrator Lucy Abada. I've had a request from our elections administrator to table this agenda item. The two-party chairs have not been able to get together. They are able to get together, and they've got a meeting scheduled with the EA. So I would like to table this till the 22nd, if that's the next one, Cherie. I believe it is. All right. So if you'll check with Lucy, and if appropriate, we'll resubmit it on as an agenda item Going to agenda item number 9, Grimes County Clerk Vanessa Brzezinski. Consider and take action to approve a proposal to preserve 4 original deed books and authorize the county judge as signatory. C, attachment number 9.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
I recently came across some books in my office that are in badly need of preservation. These are our original deed records that date back to the beginning of the county. We have these already microfilmed, but these books are very valuable. And so they need to have something done with them, I would say more sooner than later because of their condition. There are pictures in your packet of some of the books that I'm talking about, and they do date back to the early 1850s. I know I came here about a month or so ago to get some marriage books done, and I got quotes from 3 companies again, the same 3 companies. And again, Data Preservation Solutions came in as the low bidder. But with that being said, there wasn't a lot of money left over in my records management to do this. So it would probably require that we take, there is still money in records management, it's just not budgeted. And so the quote from DPS is $11,381 to do all 4 books. The high bidder was $18,000. That's co-file. And Scott Merriman was $13,084.
Records management is dedicated funding, is that correct?
It's dedicated funding.
And
to
can only be
records
used for
management
records management?
and
What is
preservation.
your balance in that records management account?
Okay, well, I have $80,000 in there.
That
Wait,
sounds
no,
like that
let
covers
me
the 11.
backtrack. Fund 21 has 80,000, Fund 54 has 78,000, but
That's
most
what's
of that's
budgeted.
already been,
That's what's budgeted.
that's what's
This-
budgeted. There's more than that in there.
In Fund 21, there's more in there, but what
Yeah.
I would like to request is that this be tabled until the next court and Vanessa come and visit with my office, and let's make sure that we have enough money. Theoretically, all of these should come during the budget process, and I
Right.
realize as you're going through things, you're gonna find books and stuff that need to be, serviced.
Right.
But to keep us from constantly going back and forth and going into fund balance for stuff that wasn't previously budgeted, because I went back and looked to see the items that were requested to be repaired for this coming budget, or for this budget, and none of these items were listed in that. And so what I would like to do is for Vanessa, you to bring your current contracts in for
Okay.
the things that have already been approved. Let's go through and let's make sure, and then we can do a proposal, bring this back to Commissioners Court with a budget amendment
Okay,
if there's enough money in your fund balance to cover it.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I would ask that y'all work through that, because if the money is already in that dedicated fund and it is available, it's a much easier decision for us.
Sure.
Versus taking out a fund balance with what we've got going on. So
Yeah.
If you're in agreement with that,
Oh, yeah.
we'll table it. Can y'all be done and ready for the 22nd?
I don't see why not.
Sheree, would you move that to that agenda, please?
And
Thank you.
I'd like to say, I know that, this is a new position for you. And like many other positions, I always advise people to sit down with your auditor first. They can keep us out
Oh, yeah,
of water. Okay.
definitely. Thank y'all so much.
But also, the more you dig in your office, the more you're finding too.
Yes.
So,
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Don't find a whole lot with the whole office.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
We will now go to agenda item number 10, Road and Bridge Engineer, Mr. Walker.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We have a water line installation permit from Wixon Creek this morning. This is on County Road 157. It'd be to the southwest of Highway 39. And this is just a service line for a new residential construction.
That's still in Commissioner Mallett's area, correct?
Yes, sir. We recommend it.
I move to approve the water line installation permit for Wixon Creek SUD on County Road 157.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 9 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item number 10, again, Road and Bridge Engineer Harry Walker. Consideration and possible approval of a water line installation permit, Wixon Creek, SUD on CR 150, I'm sorry. We just did that, I moved. Vanessa, I just approved your request. Let me transfer my notes.
We.
I didn't mean to generate that much excitement, I made an error. I'm sorry.
I actually thought that was Vanessa over there.
You thought she had hit a sound.
All right, I'd like to bring the court back on track. Mr. Walker, if you would be so kind to give us our road and bridge report. It's a new year, God bless.
Crew's been putting out a lot of rock lately. Of course, things were a little slow over the holidays. We've cut a few people out. We have, with the rain we had last week, we've had a lot of folks complain about the roads getting sloppy. That slow, steady rain is hard on us. And the fresh rock is particularly bad. Once it's been out on the road, compacted in traffic for a while, it does a lot better. I did notice that, a day or two after the rain, everything was tight and in pretty good shape again. So it's just kind of typical winter conditions when there is a lot of fresh rock on the road. Also, we've been doing some dig outs. We did some asphalt repair in Plantation Lakes at their entrance, which has been a chronic trouble spot for us. Got that completed as of yesterday. We're able to take advantage of the warm weather and get some cold mix put down on top of the repair, so that should be good for the rest of the winter. We're continuing to work in Pine Brook. We're doing mulching of the right-of-ways and clearing the brush and everything back, getting ready for our grant project work down there, make sure everything's in shape. And then we also did a project here in the town of Anderson at the request of City Council. Went through and did repairs and cleaned up a lot of their culverts, cut off the bent ends and scooped out the silt and everything in front of the culverts to help them drain better. Elsewhere, the new maintenance barn project is coming along. We got the slab poured right before Christmas. They are, as we speak, pouring the parking apron and also our fuel containment structure. So that's working well, moving along.
Do you have a proposed completion date on that project?
I believe the date is in June of this year.
Okay, thank you.
And particularly now that they're done basically with all the dirt work part of it, the weather will have very little impact on them. They've got a good solid, rock foundation to work off,
right.
And they've got concrete, so it should go pretty fast from
Very
here on
good.
out.
Thank you.
We have one little bit unusual item. The Mid-South Synergy submitted a set of plans for the reconstruction of Sunshine Valley, which is a county road next to their facility on 3090. They have purchased a number of lots along one side of that road for future expansion of their facilities there. They brought in plans. They're going to reconstruct that whole road. Right now, they are going forward with bidding on the project, get the contractor in line, and then they will bring in a bond, just like any other developer for that. Not sure exactly when they're taking their bids, but it should be sometime shortly. So we don't often have people come in and volunteer to rebuild our roads, so this is a little bit unusual, but they're doing everything by the book. And then we're continuing to put the final touches on the engineering services agreement for the 2016 GLO grant project. I hope to have that for you for the court meeting on the 22nd. Any questions?
Mr. Foltz, if there was a citizen's comment in regards to road and bridge, and we just found that information out this week, and it's not in this report, is it inappropriate to talk about it?
If it's not related to the matters that are on the agenda, I would say I would
Okay.
not engage in that conversation.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go to agenda item number 11, County Judge Joe Fath, consider and take action to approve the interlocal agreement between Grimes County and the town of Anderson for its Harvey Community Development Block Grant Program Disaster Relief Contract. Commissioners, this is I guess a part of the process. The City of Anderson is doing this, but they do need to have the court's approval on this interlocal agreement. And it does require my signature. And before I was willing to sign that, I wanted to bring it before the court for y'all to have an opportunity to review. Thus it becomes a part of the court records. If there are no questions on that, I'd make a motion that we approve the request from the City of Anderson and have the county judge as the authorized signatory.
Second.
There's a motion before the court by County Judge Joe Fath, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there any further discussion on agenda item number 11? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 12, discuss and approve the 2020 Vine Service Agreement and authorize the county judge as signatory. See attachment number 12. And as it's titled, Participating Entity Services Agreement for the Statewide Automated Victim Notification Services. I know that Ms. Williams is here. Ms. Williams, do you have any comments or anything on the Vine?
Just please sign.
Just please sign it. And this is a standard agreement that we typically do annually, is it not? That was my understanding. And Mr. Foltz, you had an opportunity to review, I hope.
I don't have any concerns about it, but
Thank you.
I move to approve the 2020 Texas Vine Service Agreement, authorize the county judge's signatory.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 12 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go to agenda item number 13, review, discuss, and take action to determine construction management options for the new Justice and Business Center being constructed by Collier Construction. See attachment number 13. Commissioners, if you'll look at attachment 13, and now you've already looked at it, but if you'll reference that, the company that we brought on board to do a peer review of our contract and our bid process and the final drawings between PGAL and the bidders, we had a third-party Vanner Construction Management come in. They did a peer review. We got their review as requested, and in our conversations, they were asked to also submit a proposal in the event we determined we wanted to go outside for any type of construction management for this project. And we're not committed one way or the other, but trying to think ahead and make sure this project goes the way the court wants it to, and it's the best situation for the citizens and our spending of their tax dollars. We thought we at least ought to consider. Now, if you consider someone other than the court doing that type of work, they submitted a proposal, and my request was put it together in kind of a cafeteria style so we could pick and choose those options that that we want versus a fully plated entree, if you will. The bid came in, and it was less than 200,000, but certainly more than the 50,000 that would require us to go out for additional bids, if I'm correct on that, Ms. Auditor, okay? So if we decide to go with an outside firm, then we are going to have to put notice out there and put it out there for bid. So that's an option that we have. The other option is, Chad, you could manage this project for us, Commissioner, along with Commissioner Cox. But I know you have an engineering degree. I don't know that your time would permit, and with your background in courtroom drama, Commissioner Cox, I don't know that you're suited to manage that project also. So I'm open for recommendations from the court on how we would like to proceed on this topic.
Judge,
Go ahead.
I've got a few lengthy comments if the court will. First of all, Veneer, during the other process that we went through with them, and I'll tell you, those guys that we dealt with, and I think it was just guys, but there may have been a lady associated there. They would get my recommendation. They did a thorough job. They were very diligent and professional in what they did in that process, and I appreciate their efforts in that. That being said, their proposal is, in my opinion, probably more than what this county can afford at this time when we have other options. I definitely believe that this court needs a project manager for many reasons. With regard to some of the new construction that's coming fairly quickly in the county. And so, one of the ideas that I would like to submit to the court is that we promote Al Peeler to project manager of the upcoming projects. We have at least 5 significant projects that probably will span over the next 2.5 years that have already been signed on the dotted line or are currently under construction.
Can you share those 5 with us, sir?
We obviously have the new Justice Center new building. We will have once that is complete, this building will need to be remodeled or re-engineered. We'll have the disposition of the property across the street on what to do with that, if anything. We will have to construct or finish construction of the storage and maintenance building out behind the new building. And then we're still in the process of the courthouse renovation. My recommendation would be that we put Mr. Peeler, if he would accept that position and the court approves it, on an exempt status, and we pay him about $55,000 a year. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but I'm looking at a proposal right here for $193,000. and to manage these projects that we have coming down the pike, I believe warrants that type of salary. And I don't believe it needs to be confined to a 40-hour-a-week job. I believe that he would need to work to get the job done regardless of how many hours it took. We also have the issue with regard to some of these upcoming projects. We're fixing to add an additional 32,000 square feet to his portfolio. And while we will lose some square footage, I don't believe it to be significant enough that it would impact the amount of work that's going to be required in his department. And there's always the possibility we have other buildings throughout the county to bring them all under the building and maintenance department. And that's also going to require, I mean, whether you do that or not, just the additional 32,000 square feet of new building is more than likely going to require additional staff members. He's certainly qualified to do the job. He's got a degree in industrial engineering. Sorry, Al, most people may not know that, but he does. And he's been in building and maintenance for 30 years. He was a United States Marine. And I think the court can vouch, and most people that work in the county can vouch, that if there has been a question with regard to the construction or planning of the new building or any current building that we have right now, Al is the go-to guy. And I just think that he fits the bill to be the project manager, and I think if we do seriously consider doing that, and he's willing to accept that position, that we pay him the elevated salary and that we make him an exempt employee. That's my alternative to the current $193,000 price tag attached to the veneer, and by no means am I trying to minimize the work that y'all do, because I believe you do a good job. It's just financial constraints right now in Grimes County seem to lend themselves to be more geared toward doing what I suggested. We'll see what the court says.
Mr. Mallett, you're part of the building committee.
I guess I was kind of thinking along the same lines that it could be managed within ourselves. A construction manager generally comes in and they oversee the whole project. They coordinate the subs and over the construction, and that's basically what the GC does. And as
GC, general contractor.
General contractor. So, you know, keeping up, the architect usually comes out and makes sure, you know, on a periodic basis, especially when very important things are being constructed. The engineer that worked for the architect would also come out during key times and oversee the construction as well, make sure it's going by their design as well.
And that's part of their current contract,
Yes.
is it not?
Yes.
Okay, and we've already allocated funds within that
It's within the
contract
contract
for
with
PGAL?
for
Okay.
construction management, and that's, I got the bill right here. Construction administration is $101,000 with $9,000 worth of administrative type things for administration. For supplemental services, but the basic services are 101.
Okay.
And that will include the engineers as well, they're subs of the architect. And then it's a administrative liaison type role, I would think, that the county would need. I'm willing to help out with that, and if Al's willing to help out with that as well, I think it would be, you know, it will be time consuming, but I think we could handle that as a county.
And one more comment on what I was saying, and I think I may have left this out. And I'm not talking about eliminating any of the current duties that Mr. Peeler has now. I'm talking about in addition to the current duties that he already does now, assuming the role.
Which is building maintenance, community service, or what is it?
Building maintenance, community service coordinator.
Yeah, okay. Because we still are dealing with adult probation in that area. Ooh. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Walker? Commissioner Dobianski?
I agree with what Commissioner Cox said, and I think Al is perfectly capable of handling the job if he's willing to do that.
And Judge, I don't know where it's going, but I assume the auditor will want some time to figure this out, so I would ask that you not approve it today. Let's put it on the agenda specifically for that direction, give the auditor an opportunity to run the numbers. I was asking the question, is his position subordinate to the court right now or subordinate to the judge? I don't recall.
Well, I'm the liaison.
Okay, but I guess the question is...
The organization chart out reports to me.
Okay, my question, I guess, is does the court do the annual evaluation for that position?
I did.
And
Oh,
does the court
we did.
have the ability to hire and fire? I think
I
there
did
just needs to be
Al's.
some clarity on that.
Al, I did your annual, did I not?
No, the court.
Court did, okay.
Yes, sir.
We did it as a court.
And that was gonna be my thought, is if you were gonna promote him to this status, that
Yeah.
it probably should be subordinate to the court as a whole and not to the judge only.
And I am glad to share that duty and responsibility. Let the record reflect. Commissioner Walker?
Well, while I appreciate the options that have been presented, if I recall, there was a lot of discussion about several points I want to make. There was a lot of discussion early on about things and value added assets to this building. And we initially reached out to Vanner because some of the issues we had was trying to figure out what the market value of something is. We talked about the electrical and the chillers versus electrical, and we found out electrical was the best way to go. I think there's a concern on my part that whoever takes this position has their pulse on the market, because when you're building a building, when you start doing any types of change orders or this changes or that changes, I've often wondered, are you getting your money back? Because, you know, this is a huge project, huge. It doesn't even compare to what I went through personally building my own home.
Sure.
But with the contractor and you saying, Mr. Collier's firm, which is the general contractor, who to me is basically working for the general contractor himself, then you start to wonder, do you get your money back? When I had a general contractor and he would say, if I want to change from mica to granite, it's not that big a difference. And then you wait till the end and you get your bill of overcharges and your overruns. Did you ever get your money back from what you paid for the mica? Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of things that transpire in construction, and particularly a project this size, to where we talk about the money it costs to hire someone to do this. My biggest concern is cost overruns. We have a set amount of money that we're dealing with, and if we can bring that project in underneath that amount of money, that's great. But we're going to have to be extremely, extremely cautious about overruns, cost changes. You know, I'm not saying it right, but when you're changing things.
Mm-hmm. Change order.
Change orders, thank you. We've talked about this time and time again, how we had a contingency of 200 and something thousand. One cost change order could eat that up in a matter of time. Okay, yes, we went back and we reallocated the money from the landscaping. We put that money, it was, and left 85,000 in there from the 192 or 192. We moved that over into contingency in a hope that we would eventually maybe not even use that money and get that money back. My concern is that too, that we get that money back, that we don't have a lot of cost overruns, which we saw with the last project in Navasota. There were a lot of cost overruns and change orders. And somebody has to be aware of what the market conditions are and what they should cost and what we should be getting back. The other concern was, we just talked about this earlier when the sheriff department came up. The question was asked, are we overworking someone and burnout? Okay, with all of the projects that I see, not saying that Al couldn't do the job, but what I'm saying is there is a possibility of burnout. You've got one project going on. You still have to oversee the maintenance of all of these buildings. Are we adding duties just because the money's there? Are we adding duties that could possibly burn you out? Okay, that's a whole lot. You wear a lot of hats. You wear hats for the probation office. You wear a hat here. You wear many hats. You're over here now with this project. That's a lot for one person. Do we in turn then if you're over here taking care of all these projects, who's going to be doing the job duties that you currently have? Are we going to have to bring somebody in with a new position to help oversee the projects that you're already working on? Because we talked about this with the 32,000 square feet that we're adding. Eventually, you're going to have some additional help. So it's not always about, like you said earlier, about the $6 and whatever cents it was per day. Is it worth it? You have to be careful of not putting too much on one person that they walk out the door and then nobody knows what's going on with the project. And we've been cautious of that. We in turn, in the beginning of this project with the death of Commissioner Hutsfield, we saw that happen, where when Commissioner Hutsfield suddenly left us, we were kind of at a loss because we were depending on that one or two person, and maybe that communication hadn't been there like it should have to where it could go on smoothly. But we took back the reins as a court and said, hey, we need to keep our hands on, all of us, on this project and take responsibility and authority over it, because there needs to be some accountability when it comes down to our responsibilities. And we decided then this project would probably be too much for you and probably too much for Al to administer and watch over. I could see so many train wrecks happening in this project, although you have a general contractor and we have a person that's already on board as our building maintenance director / probation, whatever / hats he's wearing. That's a lot of hats. To me, it's worth the money that we keep our eyes on a project that this county has. I don't think this county's seen a project this significant.
I don't think so.
In a long time, and we have a responsibility and a duty to make sure that with all of the scope of work that I see that this project manager's basic services provides, this is 3-4, I don't know how many pages of duties that they're going to be providing for us. I think it's significant. I would like to see somebody that has firsthand knowledge that comes with whether it's Vanner or whether we go out for proposals, but somebody that knows knows this business, that keeps their eyes on this business throughout the nation, not just here locally what's available, but throughout the nation, they have projects going on in offices everywhere. Anybody that does this construction management, not only Vanner, I've talked to other services too. We've even reached out to some. But that is my concern, that although we talk about exempting his status and increasing his salary and all the project, you just listed 5 projects that you think that we're gonna see. One of the questions that I heard you say was take him to exempt status, increase his salary. Did I hear increase it to 55 or adding 55 on top of it? I did not.
Increase it to 55.
Increase it to 55. For how many years? You know, you didn't say how many years. But what I'm saying is sometimes it's not all about just increasing his salary. He may find that this is too much for me to bear, one person, and then we're back to where we are with nobody overlooking a project. You know, anything can befall us. A heart attack could happen, God forbid. And then I'm just saying, I'm just painting this picture. I'm just trying to paint it. It concerns me. It concerns me.
I understand.
It has always concerned me, because there was one other thing I want to bring up. I heard you say, oh, there was a communication issue. Okay, are we going to experience that communication issue again? There was a communication issue almost with the whole thing, you know, with us, with hearing from the building committee, from hearing from what's happening in the many meetings that we have. This company helped us come in and navigate. You know, okay, maybe you're hearing a different things, but you're both speaking the same language. And maybe you didn't hear it correctly, so if I put it in a different terms, it's where we can work together. So I would not like to see us go back to that same position of not communicating with one another in a professional manner to where everybody can understand what's going on. So that's just my thoughts on the options that we have. I would like to see us go out for proposals. If you think Vanner, you know, if we have to go that route, that's great. You know, let's go that route, but I would like to see the project on the project management.
Mr. Foltz, would you restate your concern again?
About which? About what? About taking action today on
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Peeler?
Yes, sir.
The auditor's going to need to do the math and determine where those funds are going to come from if there's a proposal to increase his pay. And I'm going to guess that they would prefer to have time to examine that rather than be forced to find that money after you all make that determination.
Okay.
So I'm thinking giving all of you time to digest what Commissioner Cox has presented today, and the auditor an opportunity to find those funds. And I don't know what conversation, I assume there's been a conversation with Mr. Peeler, but also an opportunity for Mr. Peeler to digest what's been said today. If you take all that into account, I would think that you would want to table this, put it back on the agenda for specific approval of that action. But you could also, in the meantime, go out for bids and find out what companies like Vanner are willing to offer in the market. And they may be the lowest, but they may not be the lowest. And just offer one more thing that you didn't ask for this. Remember what Commissioner Mallett said, you do have somebody employed for this oversight that is not the general contractor at this point. So there can be some coordination with the PGAL representative that's supposed to be also providing project management. So sure. I would offer that. I think you can kill two birds with one stone. No heart attack. And by putting this on a future agenda, saying that you're going to take this specific action potentially to employ Al in that position, but also giving an opportunity to go out for bids in the meantime.
Who would initiate the request for bids on this? Would that be the auditor's office?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a bit of a lengthy process. I guess it doesn't have to be. It's at least a 2-week minimum or something like that, though, isn't it?
We need to have it out for at least 2 to 3 weeks to get the proposals back.
Right.
But we would of course have to have input from Commissioner Mallett, the whole court, if you want, on specifically what you want in that, or from that proposal. And I want to point out too, if you hire somebody like Banner or another company, they're not going to be here every single day watching that project.
Correct.
Which, between Commissioner Mallett and Mr. Peeler, I think they could probably rotate their time where that one of them is going to be at that site every day. Maybe not all day, but just appear. And if the general contractor and the subcontractors don't know exactly what time of day they're coming, that's gonna keep them on their P's and Q's a little bit.
Well, can I make just a couple of quick comments?
Sure,
I
go ahead.
appreciate what you said, Commissioner, and I agree with you that it's a big deal and we need to have our eye on the ball and keep our eye on the ball. A couple of things that you referenced, change orders, I've thought about that, and I think I think the court would have to come up with some type of formula that would allow for, in the event that the court chooses Mr. Peeler, that there would be a threshold that he could possibly approve a change order, or figure out if all change orders needed to come back to the court for approval. We would need to make that decision and give him guidance on that as well.
Well, and Commissioner too, on change orders are pretty much owner-driven more than anything.
Yeah, right.
There may be a few things here or there, based on a soil test, you dug down to a certain depth, and you're gonna put a pier, and the compaction or the PI or at that point is not, they have to dig a little bit further. I mean, so you're gonna have to pour a little bit more concrete or something to that effect, which would be somewhat minor, but will require a change order. But yeah, like you said, I think most of the change orders will be owner-driven, or if there's a flaw in the design, it won't come to us, it would go to the architect as far as having to fix or change anything.
Right, okay. And then communication was mentioned, and in the event, if that were to take place, there would be, in my mind, there would be no reason why that we wouldn't receive regular updates through Commissioners Court meetings. Just as we get a road and bridge report, we should be getting a construction update and report, and that does two things: keeps us involved, and it keeps the voters and taxpayers aware of what's going on with these projects. I've had a chance to talk with Mr. Peeler, and he, you mentioned burnout, and that's certainly a concern. He assures me that he would not experience burnout, because the auditor alluded to it's not necessarily something that he's going to be out on that project 8 hours a day, that he could intermingle his current duties with the other projects that we have going on. And in the future, probably in the budget process, we as a court are going to have to figure out the direction in which we want the maintenance department to go anyway, because we're adding a lot of different elements that we haven't had in the past. So I believe, and I agree with you as well, that there's going to be a need for additional staff in the future. And then to address the heart attack issue,
Get off the heart attack.
Hey, we can ask him to submit to a physical. I don't necessarily know what he'll do.
Stress is real.
Go see the cardiologist real quick. Go see the cardiologist.
I might need to take the rest of
Well, we've had very, I'm sorry, oh, Mayor?
I'd just like to make one more suggestion, and that is Commissioner Mallett and Mr. Peeler may want a software that will help them stay up to date, and it can readjust if there's time delay because of rain and stuff. that it'll automatically reset the dates that certain things are expected to be done.
Well, the contractor, I believe, and the architect have that type of
Yeah,
schedule.
they
But
talked
are
about
you
it.
gonna have access to it?
Well, yes, yeah, they send a report, and we can probably get one probably weekly if we needed to.
When, they said when they have rainouts, they will come to us and ask to reset the date in a timely basis.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to, I mean, during the interview process, just to refresh your memory, they did allude to the fact that they had the programs
Yeah,
to update us.
that they have control over those programs, that's what I'm thinking of.
But in their request, they have to actually request, and then we have proof
Yeah.
that, yeah, there was an actual.
And I'll just remind you, the contract says they have to submit it to PGAL, and PGAL is the one to determine whether or not it qualifies to push the finish date back.
Yeah.
So that's how it works also in the courthouse.
Oh,
It's the same thing.
Mr. Roberts,
Oh, thank you.
can I get you to come to the podium, please? sir?
Sure. Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for considering this. We gave me a proposal showing person hours, I don't say man hours anymore because you can't say that, you get in trouble. Person hours for this project, showing the people we would use, the hours that we would expend and the timeline that we would expend them in. There are some things that are true. The architect does have construction contract administration at the end of the project for them. But what we've found in the past sometimes is that the conflict between the architect and the contractor, you need a person who is going to be on your side who will determine if it's the architect's fault or if it's the contractor's fault, because there's conflict. And I'm not saying that the commissioner can't do it. I'm not saying that Al can't do it as well. I'm saying that that the time that's required to do this will bang up his schedule and bang up his schedule as well. Do we have somebody that's going to be there every day? No, we have somebody that's going to be there a couple days a week early, and then maybe 3 to 4 days a week when it gets into the higher time frames of construction. The issue of change orders and communication, these are all important. We want the job. We've given you hours. We've given you actually a listing of our hourly rates for the people that we plan on using for the job. And so if you if you have to put it out for bid, because I don't know if we can bring it in under $50,000 to give you the quality that you need for the building that you're building. It would be difficult for us to do it at that rate. We could probably cut it a little bit, but we will have to be sure that we knew exactly what it is that you wanted covered. We do have the communication, we do have the scheduling software in effect. We got the estimating software is in effect, and the modifying whether any requested changes, be it owner-driven, be it contractor-driven, be it unforeseen conditions. We have the ability to do that. That's what we do. We also have, since I'm always having my selling hat on, we also have the ability to give you supplemental staff in case you decide not to use Vanner or someone else, and Al or the commission needs some additional work. You need some scheduling work. I need some estimating work done. We want the project. We really do. We enjoy working with you. We enjoy working with the contractor. What we always say is that in any instance like this, the construction manager is your advocate. He's not on the contractor side. He's not on the architect's side. We're on your side. Your building and your confidence is what we trade on. And we want to come in here, we want to start and establish a relationship with you guys and keep moving. So whether you use Vanner, whether you have to put it out for an RFP or an RFQ, I think that, and Al is a very strong guy, but with all the things that he has to do already, Al, I don't say have heart attacks. I say if Al wins the lottery, it has to go. It has to go somewhere. It's going to be a jumble. So we would be more than happy to put a proposal together if you decide to put it out. If you need supplemental services, you decide to do it in-house and need supplemental services, we'd be happy to submit that as well. We just want an opportunity. We appreciate the fact that you thought enough of us to allow us to give a proposal. It's kind of a tight proposal. We understand that you guys have a pretty good contractor and a pretty good architect. So, and you're pretty cool people to work with, so we kind of cut our number down. We could cut it down a little bit more if necessary, but 55,000, we probably couldn't do it for that, to give you the services that we think you so richly deserve.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, I'm open for motions or tabling, or what direction would you like to go on this agenda item?
I'd like to make the motion that we table the item until there's further research with the Auditor's Department on all of our options available.
Second. We need a second.
I have a motion before the court on agenda item number 13, and just to clarify, that motion is just to review and think about the data that we've received today, visit with the auditor to see where the money would come from in the event we do go with Commissioner Cox's recommendation. Is that a fair analysis of?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Then with that, is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing, okay, motion passes. Sheree, would you make sure that that gets?
Who seconded?
I did.
Commissioner Dobianski, did I not share that? Commissioner Walker, first, Commissioner Dobianski second, 5-0 on the vote. Would you make sure it gets back on the agenda for the 22nd? Bring your lunch on the 22nd. Just as a heads up. Very good, thank you. Agenda item number 14, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge's signatory. Humidity's down, things are winter dead, but we've had a little bit of ground moisture. Recommendations?
Can we take no
Let's
action?
get him close.
No action. All right. The item 15 is receive any updates on the strategic plan. Just a reminder, Commissioners, we do have a workshop scheduled for January the 22nd after our very short Commissioners Court meeting is over, okay? So be prepared to
Bring your
share
lunch.
your, yeah, bring your lunch. Be prepared, Commissioner Mallett ought to bring lunch, maybe some ribs and what have you. But just as a reminder on the strategic plan, if you will. With that, we go to agenda item number 16. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski to adjourn. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Time is 10:18.
Thank you.